Hello, and welcome to our pre-release dev blog series for the upcoming game, Hades 9. I am Nick Nieuwoudt, Head of Development for Hades 9, and I wanted to talk to you in this episode about some of the basic RPG and character aspects of the game. Fundamentally, Hades 9 is based around real-time fleet combat, massive warships, and tactical battles against other players in a massive open-world environment. And we'll spend a lot more time in other episodes talking about those aspects of the game. However, the game has two other elements beyond the RTS combat and the open-world environments. One of those components is a grand strategy game focused on acquiring resources, new ships, training up commanders, and positioning yourself against other players and NPCs in the game universe. The other is a role-playing game centered around your Admiral and his or her commanders. Hades 9 is a game that begins shortly after an event referred to as the Devastation, in which almost all of humanity has been killed. And while large amounts of ships have survived, the military infrastructure has not. The chaos that followed led to a lot of upwards mobility, admirals going rogue and attempting to form their own armadas, and sometimes even entire navies. You as the player begin as one such admiral. Starting from humble beginnings, the decisions you make will grow your fleet or cost millions of lives. Whether that's fighting off pirates for the good of all or trying to exploit the dying remnants of humanity for personal gain. After wandering through the ashes of humanity for 10 years, you find a safe harbor in the form of an ancient alien artifact known as Hades 9. It is an impossibly giant and mysterious structure thought to be roughly 4.5 billion years old that managed to survive the devastation intact. Previously a distant border outpost, mostly known for illicit research and marginally legal operations, it has become the main port of call in this section of the galaxy since the devastation. And it is home to many fleets, corporations, and powerful families, each trying to outmaneuver each other to control this remnant of a once great empire. As an admiral of one of those fleets based there, your interactions on Hades 9 seriously influence your fleet. This is the foundation of the RPG elements of the game, and that lets you explore this vast ramshackle megacity tucked into one of the safer regions of this enormous ruined alien artifact. You can spend time in the warrens of refugees or the palaces of the power brokers, or even explore the dangerous uninhabited sectors and interact with the exiled people there. However, the true core of the RPG experience is on board the ships themselves, not simply dealing with other players' fleets or NPCs, but your own crew aboard your flagship and the commanders of your escorts. In Hades 9, you will see rookie commanders defying the odds in combat, promoting them through the ranks, giving them command of massive warships, and one day promoting them to the general staff aboard your capital ship, standing beside you in combat. That said, however, Hades 9 is a violent setting, where life is cheap and your commanders will only live as long as you can keep them alive. On the subject of interaction with your commanders, or any other NPC in the game for that matter, we intentionally decided to avoid spoken dialogue in favor of text interactions, to allow for a much larger interaction tree and a much greater pool of personalities, and enthusiasts will be able to help add to that inventory so that you can always have fresh new recruits along with new and in-depth NPCs to select to helm your ships or manage your fleets or help you on the flagship or even just be your bodyguards and personal minions. Your character, whether a benevolent shepherd trying to protect those survivors who joined your fleet, or a ruthless warlord bent on exploiting the situation, you essentially command an empire that is only small in comparison to the truly massive population and resources of the human empire before the devastation. You have millions under your command, people who will live and die by your orders. Yet the difference between Hades 9 and a classic fleet combat RTS is when you lose a ship, it's not a statistic. Going down with that ship is one of your commanders who had been by your side for countless battles, through so much pain and triumph. He was there when you watched humanity's planets burn, when you first found Hades 9. He was there when you celebrated your first victory, and right beside you when you suffered your first defeat. You were by his side when he broke down and told you about his family, how their brutal deaths and the cataclysm of his homeworld still haunted him to this day, how he left everything behind to follow you. When you pinned his promotion medal on his uniform, when you gave him command of his first ship, when he rose higher and higher through the ranks, you were there. And he was with you when you returned him to the front line, assigning him to command the most pivotal battle you have ever encountered. And he was with you when you folded the flag over his coffin, When you read off his list of accomplishments, when you read the list of people devastated by his departure, you were there. This is your command. These are your people. Welcome to Hades 9, Admiral.